Meghan Markle exposed. Netflix just dropped the bombshell no one saw coming. That's right, the glossy fairy tale is cracking, and behind the scenes, it's a full-on Hollywood disaster. Once hailed as the Duchess-turned-Hollywood darling, Meghan Markle's Netflix deal was supposed to be her golden ticket. But now, she's at the center of a scandal so messy, even her fiercest defenders are stunned. Netflix has launched a full-blown creative investigation into her series with Love Meghan, and the accusations swirling around are nothing short of explosive. We're talking plagiarism, copied scenes, and a studio on the verge of cutting her loose. But here's where it gets even juicier. Insiders say Netflix's leadership is now split. One CEO wants to shut it all down, the other's clinging on. And wait until you hear which A-list reality shows Meghan allegedly ripped off. It's not just one, it's several, and the receipts are jaw-dropping. So buckle up, because we're pulling back the curtain on Meghan's Hollywood downfall. And trust me, you don't want to miss the twist that could end her Netflix reign for good. You're watching Chattermuse. Hit that like button, drop a comment below, and don't blink. Because what's coming next will leave you speechless. At first, it was just a whisper. A few murmurs in Netflix's executive suites, quiet questions about why with Love, Meghan Season 2 felt off. But soon, those murmurs turned into alarm bells. Early reviews from the internal creative team weren't just lukewarm, they were baffled. Why did certain scenes feel strangely familiar? Why did some dialogue sound eerily lifted from other hit shows? Behind closed doors, Netflix leadership decided they couldn't look the other way. What began as a routine content check spiraled into a full-blown investigation, the kind usually reserved for legal nightmares, not celebrity vanity projects. Creative executives pored over episodes frame by frame, cross-referencing scripts, comparing footage, digging deep into what Meghan and her team had delivered. And here's where things went from concerning to catastrophic. Insiders revealed that when the findings landed on the desks of Netflix's top brass, even seasoned execs were floored. This wasn't just sloppy editing or coincidental overlap. This was systematic. Whole sequences appeared to mirror scenes from blockbuster reality shows, word-for-word lines matching viral TV moments, even entire aesthetic choices lifted without permission. For Netflix, a company already facing intense public scrutiny over rising subscription costs and dwindling content libraries, this was more than a celebrity blunder. It was a reputational landmine. The internal mood shifted from frustration to panic as top-level decision-makers realized they weren't just looking at a bad show, they were looking at a potential scandal that could blow up in the press. And right at the center of this storm, Meghan Markle, a woman once seen as Netflix's star crossover act, now caught in the headlights of an investigation that no amount of royal shine could shield her from. And if you thought the mere idea of an investigation was bad, wait until you hear what they actually found. According to insiders, Netflix's deep dive into With Love, Meghan didn't just uncover some harmless inspirations or stylistic overlaps. It exposed full-on, near-copycat moments. Episode 4? Analysts were stunned to discover dialogue lifted almost word for word from Hell's Kitchen. Imagine the tension, the sharp remarks, the fiery kitchen chaos, all seemingly transplanted straight into Meghan's supposedly original show. But that was only the beginning. By episode 7, things got even more eyebrow-raising. 3 entire scenes were found to mirror Jersey Shore. Yes, the over-the-top, fist-pumping reality hit known for its wild party antics. Meghan and her guests allegedly echoed not just the style of conversation, but even the hand gestures, the tone, the exact flow of interactions. It wasn't just inspired. It was, as one Netflix staffer put it, like watching a well-rehearsed imitation. And then came the Malibu Beach debacle. Netflix executives were floored to realize a key beachside moment had been lifted almost frame for frame from Survivor. Everything, from the team dynamics to the dialogue to the set aesthetics, bore the unmistakable fingerprints of the reality giant. But perhaps the most bizarre discovery? Scenes eerily similar to Pamela Anderson's Cooking with Love, where not only the setting, but even the specific dishes shown matched Pamela's program. That's right. It wasn't just about borrowed themes or borrowed moods. It was about literal, edible, on-camera details. For Netflix, this wasn't some playful nod to pop culture. This was a creative nightmare, an embarrassment, a ticking time bomb threatening to explode, not just across social media, but in the headlines, the trades, and the eyes of industry rivals who were now watching closely, wondering just how deep Meghan's alleged shortcuts went. With the walls closing in, Meghan Markle did what any embattled celebrity would do. She came out swinging. Instead of backing down or issuing a quiet apology, Meghan framed the entire controversy as a misunderstanding. According to her camp, the show's material wasn't copied. It was simply inspired by the greats. She argued that borrowing themes, moods, and even certain moments was part of creative expression, not theft. After all, don't all artists draw from what's come before? But behind Netflix's closed doors, executives weren't buying it. Ted Sarandos, one of the company's high-profile CEOs, reportedly remained sympathetic, seeing Meghan as a valuable media figure who still had the potential to bring in viewers. For Sarandos, cutting her loose too quickly risked looking reactionary, or worse, alienating a still powerful fan base. Greg Peters, however, was done playing nice. The other Netflix CEO had been raising alarms months earlier, warning that Meghan's antics could snowball into exactly the kind of corporate headache they were now facing. To Peters, this wasn't about creative license. It was about credibility. How could Netflix claim to be a leader in original content if its marquee shows were recycling other people's work? As the two power players clashed behind the scenes, Meghan found herself walking a precarious tightrope, defending her creative choices in the court of public opinion, all while her reputation inside Netflix's boardroom was unraveling by the day. This leadership split wasn't just a minor disagreement. It sparked full-on chaos inside Netflix's highest ranks. Ted Sarandos, long seen as the face of Netflix's bold, celebrity-driven strategies, reportedly believed Meghan Markle still had market value. In his eyes, pulling the plug too soon risked losing the investment they had poured into her brand. Sarandos had backed major stars before and weathered controversies. To him, this was just another storm they could ride out with careful PR. But on the other side of the table sat Greg Peters, the more measured, data-driven executive who saw Meghan's projects as a sinking ship. Peters had been raising red flags for months, urging the team to get ahead of the growing concerns. For Peters, this wasn't just a Meghan problem, it was a Netflix problem. Each new headline about plagiarism or creative misconduct chipped away at the platform's credibility. How could they champion original content if one of their most public deals was tainted by accusations of recycled material? The rift between the two CEOs soon trickled down through the company. Mid-level managers were caught between conflicting orders. Teams working on the show were stuck in limbo, unsure whether to halt production, move forward, or prep for reshoots. Legal advisors, PR consultants, and content strategists were suddenly pulled into emergency meetings. What had started as a simple investigation spiraled into corporate confusion, with no one sure who would ultimately win out. Sarandos' push to salvage Meghan's image, or Peters' push to clean house before the scandal reached critical mass. And while Netflix's top brass scrambled behind closed doors, the clock was ticking. Because outside the company, the media, the fans, and Meghan's critics were all watching, waiting to see whether this corporate tug-of-war would end in redemption or total collapse. And here's where the ripple effect hit like a tidal wave. What was originally framed as a quick routine set of reshoots, maybe 2-3 weeks at most, quickly spiraled into a logistical nightmare. As Netflix's investigation team flagged more and more suspicious material, the production team was forced into a near-total overhaul. Scenes weren't just being tweaked, entire episodes were being gutted, reworked, and refilmed from scratch. By the time July rolled around, the reshoot schedule had ballooned into a brutal 6 to 7 week grind. Cast members were frustrated, crew morale plummeted, and behind the scenes, Meghan herself was said to be fuming. Reports claim she had hoped to wrap filming quickly to move on to other projects. But now, she was trapped in an endless cycle of rewrites, do-overs, and creative setbacks. The cost? Not just in dollars, but in reputation. Industry insiders whispered that Netflix's patience was wearing thin. Meghan's brand, once seen as resilient, now looked chaotic. Every delay raised questions about whether the show could even recover, or if it was simply too far gone. And worse yet, even die-hard fans began questioning whether, with Love, Meghan was worth waiting for, or if it had already become the most high-profile flop of Meghan's rocky Hollywood run. But here's the brutal truth. This mess isn't confined to Netflix's walls. Hollywood has been watching, and the verdict is grim. Before the scandal broke wide open, Meghan Markle had been quietly shopping around new projects. A glossy reality series pitched to Amazon, several podcast expansions aimed at top audio networks, even whispers of scripted dramas she hoped to headline or produce. But one by one, the doors began to slam shut. Amazon, reportedly uninterested. Major podcast backers, backing away. Studios that once courted her celebrity glow now saw her as a risky bet, one that came with too much baggage and too little payoff. Insiders close to the negotiations describe a Meghan Markle who is increasingly isolated, scrambling to keep her media dreams alive. Some say she's now exploring the unthinkable, self-funding her own content just to push something, anything, out the door. But even that path is risky. Without major studio backing, without the safety net of a Netflix or an Amazon, Meghan faces an uphill battle in an industry that can turn cold fast. And Hollywood's cold shoulder doesn't just sting, it cuts deep. Because for a celebrity who once commanded global headlines and multi-million-dollar deals, finding herself iced out, project after project, is more than a professional setback. It's a public fall from grace. And if the industry turning its back wasn't enough, Meghan's last lifeline, her loyal fan base, is showing serious cracks. Season 1 of With Love, Meghan had already been a rough ride. Critics panned it, audiences were underwhelmed, and even devoted supporters admitted it didn't live up to the hype. But now, with Season 2 marred by scandal, reshoots, and negative press, even Meghan's biggest defenders are having second thoughts. Social media has become a battlefield of disappointment. Twitter threads, TikTok reactions, YouTube commentary. Everywhere you look, the sentiment is shifting. Fans who once praised Meghan's resilience are now calling the show a disaster in the making, an embarrassment, or worse, dead on arrival. Reddit forums are packed with predictions that Season 2 will tank harder than the first, dragging what's left of Meghan's public image down with it. And let's be clear, in the entertainment world, perception matters. When even your most loyal audience starts losing faith, the warning lights flash red. Because at the end of the day, celebrity empires don't just crumble because of studio politics or industry deals. They fall when the public stops caring. And right now, many are saying Meghan Markle's brand isn't just wounded, it's on life support, waiting for the final blow. So here's the big question we're all left with. Is Meghan Markle's Hollywood downfall just a case of bad luck? The industry turning cruel and unpredictable? Or are we watching the slow-motion fallout of her own choices, her own missteps, finally catching up with her? Did Netflix act out of necessity to protect its brand? Or are they just pouring gasoline on an already raging fire? Whatever your take, one thing's clear. This isn't just another celebrity slip-up. It's a moment where fame, power, and ambition collide, and the fallout is unfolding right in front of us. We want to hear from you. What do you think is really driving this collapse? Is there any path for Meghan to bounce back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you've been following the twists and turns, and don't forget to subscribe to Chatter Muse, because if you think this is the end of the story, you're in for a shock. Stay tuned.